What's up?
How the fuck can I not find? I got my do not disturb on this time. We're good.
I've been sending fucking so many messages on Hinge. I set my app to New York. Just got out
All
my
right,
spam.
let's get going. All right, guys, welcome back to episode 8 of the playbook. I think I got that right, episode 8. Um, we're on a bit of a roll here. Um, last episode, if you guys were listening to our episodes, we don't mean to do this. We don't look for segues into further. Well, I mean, we sometimes do, I guess, if we can make it happen. But last episode, if you were tuning in, we talked about men that couldn't get over their exes, for a period of time. Like great, 2 weeks, maybe a month, maybe 2 months. We've all been there, but for 2 years, a year and a half or something like that. We went through some tips of how you guys can kind of get over your exes and move on, what you guys can do, what you should be devoting your attention to. Now, when it comes to actually getting back into another relationship, obviously, experience tells you a lot of things. If you've been dating for a while, if you've been, getting experience in the dating market, you kind of know there's personalities out there that you don't mix with. And so I went looking online. So obviously, whenever you're ready to get back out there, it's always good to know what you're looking for. Obviously, it's a personal thing, but there's quite a few personality types that just in general are obviously wise to avoid. And I think as we go through this list, and I went online, I searched for a list for us to look at, and and I want to read them all out. So there's 13 types. There's a writer on Medium. So this is just a random article, but it's based off of I think a lot of the stuff, the content that I've listened to, and I think Johnny probably listened to it as well. And I think this will resonate with you. So I want to go through these 13 types of women that men should ideally avoid. And I think you'll probably agree with us. If you don't, or if you do, leave a comment in the comment section. Let us know if you've had experience with this. But I'm just going to go through each one, Johnny, and I want to get your thoughts on this. So, what are your thoughts just in general as I introduce this topic? Do you think it's a very personal thing, or do you think there's just in general, you know, a few personalities, maybe more than a few personalities out there that people really should avoid?
I think it's gonna come down to your level of abundance if you're willing to put up with this kind of stuff. Like some of these I know will come up as like the princess probably, which me personally, I like a princess. I like a girl that likes to be girly, but I
Mm-hmm.
also am in the frame of I'm not buying you things. Like you're not getting stuff from me because you're a princess. I like the princess mindset, the behavior, but it's also like I'm not accommodating to it. So I think
Mm-hmm.
some of this is going to come down to if, say, you have no abundance, you just be happy and you probably sacrifice, but yeah, okay, this is not such a big deal. I can manage this.
Mm-hmm.
Or if people don't really know what they want, then they might get in these traps. So it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see what's on the list. But some of it might be more like it is a behavior, but if you're not in the frame or you're not able to stand up for your boundaries, like if you're the nice guy, then these kind of girls will walk over you. That doesn't
Yeah.
mean it's their fault. It just might
Mm-hmm.
mean you have to do more to manage the relationship.
Yeah, I think it's unavoidable. It's going through all of these, and I've looked at this list. I don't think you've looked at the list I'm about to read you. So, but I've looked at them, and I know that there's a certain degree of these types of personalities in every woman, right? It's just a matter of how dominant it is, and some women live it up to 100%. And I think that's like we're not talking about a caricature. There's obviously you can see a caricature of like say a sugar baby or something like that. Obviously, a lot of men would want to avoid that unless that's what you're looking for, but we're going to kind of dissect it. That's what I sort of want to get into is this nuances of dissecting each of these personalities and sort of say how can it sort of manifest in a relationship and sort of what to stay away from for most guys, right? Some guys can handle it, like you said, depends on your boundaries. But without further ado, I'm going to read the first one to you, Johnny, and I want your comments on the materialistic girl. So this could be, not necessarily, I guess, a gold digger. I guess you can call them a gold digger. I talked about sugar daddy or sugar baby before, but essentially somebody that requires the guy to pay for, literally everything beyond, the gentlemanly way that it would usually be done. And somebody that's like, I've heard this before, right? A girl that asks a guy to buy her a purse, one of these like designer handbags, like Louis Vuitton or whatever, like these things go up to like $3,000-$4,000 sometimes. The girl who has to have all these things, or like wants to travel, wants all these things bought for her. What do you think about this one? I think this is mostly pretty obvious for a lot of men, that can feel used pretty quickly. What are your thoughts on this, Johnny? Do you have any experience with it, first of all?
No, I don't have any experience with it. I don't buy girls stuff unless I want to. Like I don't have, I don't date high maintenance girls. Maybe I just don't run into them enough, or I'm just not attracting them. But I'm in the frame of, I don't need to buy things for girls to like me. I think that's kind of what some of that comes down to. Some guys are super wealthy and buying a Louis Vuitton bag really means nothing to them. So that's, if they're not coming from the mindset of I'm going to buy her something for her to like me, then I mean, that's just having higher status and you're just going to attract those kind of girls. That doesn't necessarily mean a girl is only about that stuff, but if a guy is buying her those kind of things for them to like her, like, for her to like them, it's just a transactional relationship to me. Like at that, like, she's really not gonna, I don't know. I would have problems trusting that she would stick around if I ever like lost my job or like lost my stuff or anything like that. Me personally, I don't buy dinners. I don't buy gifts. I mean, I'll buy gifts for girls I'm dating, but I don't buy stuff for girls to stick around.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of guys they kind of do it, and I think it's a slippery slope for me, anyways. Thinking about this, I think sometimes if when you're dating a girl and she likes you because you're paying for dinners, you're paying for, maybe you paid for the first getaway that you guys had, and wherever it was for 2 days.
Yeah, but do you think as a man, like you should do that stuff? Like me as a man, I think if we're going out to dinner, I buy dinner. Like,
depends on who you are. Like I don't mind buying dinner. I don't mind buying the odd thing. I just think it's like I said, it's a very fine line between like feeling like you have to. And I think where materialistic comes in, it's like, do you value these things? And we've all seen this stuff on TV. We've all seen it probably in our real lives where these women are like basically taking advantage of richer guys, right? That's what they want. They take a guy out shopping, the guy buys them all this stuff, and it's pretty obvious. But there's like nuanced stuff where it's like maybe she's really into social media and she's like trying to give you messages that she wants this dress that she saw her friend wearing, or like there's an she's overly attentive to brands and material things, which is could point to being sloppy with money. There's a lot of red flags in there.
I mean,
but
if
I
a
think
girl can get away with people buying her that stuff, like why not take advantage of it? If a girl asked me for that, I would just immediately be like, no, I'm not pursuing this at all.
Yeah, it sends the wrong message, and I think I've had a couple of experiences where it's a longer story, so I'm not going to tell it on the podcast, but I've definitely had experiences where I am the kind of guy that would buy dinner on the first date, second date, third date. Like I really don't expect the girl to pay for much, and that's just who I am. And I've identified that as maybe something I should potentially change, just so I don't send the wrong message. But I genuinely enjoy being generous to the women that I'm with, as long as they're reciprocating, right? As long as they're they're putting in the same kind of energy that I am, in other ways. So for me, that's fine. But I think if I got the message that, hey, like, oh, I need this or I need that, on top of the stuff that I'm willing to do, it's like it sends a bitter message, and I would get turned off easily to that.
I think there's a difference between I'm offering to buy you dinner because I like to treat the girls I'm seeing, like that's a nice thing to do, instead of a girl saying I expect dinner from you. Like that's a whole different thing. It's like I was doing this. I like spending time with you. I don't mind buying dinner. Like that's what a man does. I don't expect you to pay half. Like me personally, I'm not asking a woman to pay half of a bill. Like I just pay it. But I'm also not going to, like, I don't want her to expect we're going out to dinner every night, or
Mhm.
like stuff like that. Like if she's saying I expect dinner, like then to me that's a red flag.
Yeah. 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 And especially like, again, like if you have the means, I would say like in my recommendation, like it doesn't look good. Like we've all seen the Bill Belichick, you know, complete disaster of what's unfolding. Forget about the football stuff. It's just one thing after another with that guy now. But it never looks good. I think everybody sort of knows it, and it's sort of like a from a guy's perspective. A lot of people can say, "Fine, you know, we know what the transaction is. You're a bit older, you're more successful. She's younger. Fine, we get it." But it's just a weird look, and I think it's either obvious, and if it's not obvious, if you're like have like equal value on the sexual marketplace, whatever you want to call it, and you're still doing that, then that's a point to sort of identify. And especially if it's putting you in a bad financial position, if you're saying, hey, this girl is all over me, but she expects this and this and this, and I don't have the money to pay for it, and you're having to figure out credit card bills or whatever, that's even in a worse situation. So I think there's a lot of different situations that could be potentially disastrous with this type of relationship or with this type of person. Least of which is financial, like we just talked about.
Have
All
you
right. So,
changed your
yeah.
mind on dinner dates? Do you still like doing those for a first date?
Not as much as I did. I alluded to a potential story that I may tell on a different topic on a further podcast. I probably alluded to it if you're an avid listener of our of our first 8 episodes. I think I may have alluded to it once or twice, but there's been a couple of dinner dates where I've always enjoyed them. But there's been a couple where it's sort of sent the message that I have like wasted an entire evening plus a lot of money. When again I went home thinking fine, it was like a good night out with a beautiful woman. We had great conversation, good food. But I think it's time to start to ask for more than that. Like if I'm going to go out and spend an entire evening with somebody, I'm going to need better than just like a good conversation and a good plate of food, right? I can get that anywhere. So I think
Yeah,
to answer your question, I've sort of soured on that, and I'd rather just go for coffee or a glass of wine or something like that for the first
yeah.
date.
My thoughts are drinks for the first date or something casual. Like I want to see if I even like this girl before I invest money
Exactly.
on a dinner and spending that time with somebody. Like dinners, there's some lulls you're eating. You're gonna invest this money. Like I want to be with somebody I enjoy like being with. Plus, I
Yeah.
also think like offering to buy dinner puts you in that provider frame right away. Like
Yeah. It sends the wrong
be
message.
my
Yeah.
boyfriend right away, and then like now he's going to like I don't know. To me, it seems like it's better to save that for a second, third date,
Yeah.
something like that. Because you see
And
all
if
the
you have,
time too, like those TikToks of a guy spends a bunch of money and then goes home empty-handed, which is
yeah.
fine. Girls have that choice. Like that's not the problem. But like I think girls expect like that's what the guy's expecting when they buy dinner. Whether that's true or not,
Mhm.
I don't know. I just don't like the frame of dinner at a first date.
Yeah, yeah. It's growing on me just doing something more casual. And if it's a requirement for a girl, it sort of sends the wrong message too, right? It's like, oh, do you expect this? Now we're getting into a weird situation where it's like performative, you know?
Yeah, I don't even know if I
Um,
like it yet. Why am I gonna buy you dinner?
yeah, exactly, exactly. Actually, a funny story. I did go on a date last week, and it was with a girl that didn't speak any English, and I, of course, don't speak any Spanish. So I was like asking you how would you do that, and then here I am, the next week doing it myself. But it's actually not that hard,
No.
when you have your Translate app. We did have dinner, and then we ended up going for drinks afterwards, like just based on the Translate app. It was incredible. But I thought I would throw that in because I think what I would do is like I would go out for a couple of drinks first, and then that's the option that you have is go out with a couple of drinks, and then if you enjoy each other's company, you can then invite her for appies or like you can
Yeah, if
suggest.
you're still hungry, then go get something. Yeah.
Yeah. So that and that's like it shows a bit of spontaneity as well, and there's that's obviously always a good thing.
Always good to
Uh,
change venues in the date.
exactly. Yeah, I was get antsy, and I'm like, just get the hell out of here. Okay. The second one, the one that always has to win. So this would be, I guess, your boss bitch, your ambitious, girl that basically, tries to one up you. She's not very agreeable. And I'm not like, I don't subscribe to the manosphere's thoughts of like, she has to be agreeable and submissive. Like, I don't necessarily think that. I think to a certain degree, I don't want to be challenged like at every turn. There's something to be said about that. Like you need something peaceful in your life, not always like if you have political views, like if she's liberal and you're conservative, like if you can make that situation work, um, maybe if you can, the last thing you want to do is have to be challenged every single night to like have somebody try to win you over or like compete with you in business. Like, fine, if you want to do well in business, that's great, but like we're not in a competition here. Like, let's compliment each other, let's motivate each other. But that kind of personality, Johnny, where there's a girl that's just so intense, where she's always trying to be on her grind and always trying to dominate and basically be the masculine in the relationship.
I don't know many. I never dated a lot of girls that were like ultra competitive or anything, where she's like always got to win. But I have seen girls that were like lawyers who have to, like, they're always working. They're very much, they like to take the lead. But they also, those are also some of the girls that also really appreciate when you can just lead and be masculine and just let them be in their feminine. Because most of the time they're always telling other people what to do. So if you can just, hey, we're going for drinks here, this is what we're going to do, like just take the lead, they really respond well to that because they're not used to guys doing that. And most women, I don't know if they would admit it or not, probably don't want to be in that masculine frame. But if you're working as a lawyer and you're working 50, 60 hours a week, like you don't have much choice. And then if you're coming home and you're dating a guy, they say a lot of like, you kind of attract the opposite. So a more masculine woman would probably attract a more feminine kind of man who's not leading, but deep down they really do crave a guy that will take the lead and let them be submissive. So,
well, because I think, yeah, that brings up a good point. I think what the article actually says is that personality type does attract a more beta man because the alpha is just, and I don't like those two characteristics. I think
yeah, I don't really agree to that
people are
either.
way more nuanced than just one or the other. And then the cringy, what's the third one? The beta, alpha, and sigma, whatever the sigma one is.
I don't know. I don't even know what sigma means, honestly.
But it tends to attract that type of person because the more, what do you want to call it, more on the alpha side of like, being the more dominant man, they would never fly and you wouldn't even have a relationship. So I think if the girl at that point wants a relationship, she's going to have to take a guy that's like more willing to accept those like more dominant personality traits. And I think overall, it's just not good for a relationship to be in that frame.
I think it's gonna be hard for it to work out in the long term.
Yeah, even if the guy's okay with it, like a guy could say, "Fine, like I don't care. I want a girl that's like." The worst thing the guy could say is like, "Fine, if the girl makes the money in the family, I'll stay home, take care of the kids. I'll be the manny."
I mean, the
I'll
guy I'm
play the
working with
role.
now, he was doing that. His wife made a lot of money. He's staying at home dad. But even though it sounds good on paper, like eventually the woman's gonna feel like you're supposed to be the man, you're supposed to be the provider.
Yeah, like he'll fill a role in the relationship. It won't be the role of her respect, right? She'll find that somewhere else because like there's no way you can respect that as a girl. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Like, sure, maybe those dynamics could work, but I've never.
I mean, in
Not
theory, it
that
sounds great too. Like, yeah, I'll be the good husband. I'll be the stay-at-home dad. I'll do my duty. Like, it is like an honorable thing in your head, but just evolutionarily, she's going to eventually be like, well, I'm making all the money. I'm doing all this. You're supposed to be the provider. Why am I like, it's just, I guess, nature that it's going to cause issues eventually.
Yeah, and it's the exception instead of the rule if those things work out. I think that's all
Yeah.
all
I mean,
anybody can say is that, yeah, if you have that situation, fine, but it's like, you're working with exceptions and maybe you are the exception. I don't know, but the rule is based off of 40,000 years of species development, right? Like read Sapiens, you'll find it all about it. But yeah, I mean, we're talking about exceptions based off of, years and years of conditioning and just what actually happens. Like you can talk about lawyers, you can talk about, you know, you can talk, like, I would say not about lawyers, you can talk to divorce lawyers and they'll tell you exactly the situations that they find is that sure, these situations work, but eventually, you know, they will spiral off. She will cheat. She will find somebody else, and the guy will be left out in the cold, right?
Hypergamy. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we're not making it up. Um, okay, I think that's it for that one. Let's go to the next one here. The third one would be the flirty type. Now, she wants your friends to like her, and obviously you do as well, you know, to a certain extent. But there's a fine line usually, right, about being too friendly, like having a flirty girlfriend who's basically flirting with the bartender, flirting with the DJ. You know, women flock to DJ tables like a fly in, you know, glass or a light bulb. But like, you know those type of women that are like they always seem to have men around them. They're always not doing, you know, I guess I'm not sure what I'm trying to say, but they're always like they're not overly making it obvious that you're the boyfriend, even though you're with them, and obviously more so if they're out alone. You know the kind of girl I'm talking about, the one that's kind of too flirty and it makes the guy feel a bit weird.
I don't have a ton of experience with that, I guess.
Mm.
I mean, I know I've seen guys date girls like that they're
Mm.
like, it makes me uncomfortable being around them. Like, I
Mm.
guess not being around them, but it's like kind of a warning sign. Like, she's acting this way with people while you're there. What's she gonna do when you're not around?
Mm. And it's played up of like personality types. It's played up of like, you know, Latin American women. There's more like huggy. You have French women that are like every time you meet them, they'll do like this the kiss on the side of the cheek. And a lot of people are from the West. They're not used to that, right? They're like more awkward when they're meeting. It's like a handshake or an awkward, like not even a touch, you know. Like, whereas in Europe, you find like hugging and kiss on the cheek is normal for a first date, right? So I think it depends on a
Yeah,
bit on the
that's not a big
nationality.
deal. But if you're
Mm.
flirting with a bunch of guys at the bars or something, like, I don't
But
know.
it's like not overtly flirting. I
I don't
think
want my
obviously
girl flirting with guys at all.
that would be a bit much, but like there are those types of women who are just very approachable, very
Yeah, some
uh
girls are just friendly and like that.
mm, and it could come off as flirtiness. To them it's like maybe to them it's they are playing it up a little bit. They're going to say no, they're going to say yeah, I just like the attention, and they're going to say oh, just how I am, I'm not doing anything about it, like, you know, I'm not making it overtly, you know,
Do you have
I'm
any
not doing it
experience with
to
these kind of girls?
I mean, I've dated a couple of Latin American women that have been more friendly. I don't think flirty would be the term. I would say that sometimes it was like not cause for concern, but sometimes it did make me think, you know. But then it, you know, it wasn't overly. I've seen women that are like, first of all, like the second they get into a bar or a lounge or whatever, they're like glued to the DJ table, and it's like that's a bit cringy, just because I don't get it. But like, you know, those types of women who are just like all about the nightlife. They're flirting with the guy at the door. They're flirting with the bar tender staff, and it's just like this is your natural habitat of being in a place like this, and that's cool. And it's just not for me. But I've seen those, and I haven't been with somebody like that, but I've definitely been around it, and it's been like a complete no go for me. Like that would be just a one of the biggest turnoffs I can imagine is somebody that's, you know, wanting to be with you or wanting your exclusivity, but then, you know, disrespecting you in that manner of like everybody's looking at this and just doesn't make any sort of attempt to, you know, to have like you be comfortable with the relationship, I guess. So for me, that would be a big one, I think.
Yeah, fair enough.
Let's go to the next one, the needy one. So again, I wouldn't say the opposite of the flirty, where I think flirty women are more on the side of like, you know, they're more independent. You know, they're not really necessarily that needy. Maybe they're up two personalities, but the next one is the needy girl. So again, like the girl that holds your hand all the time. She texts you every hour. She needs you to text her back. She calls you. She needs you to pick up the phone. She's always at your house. There's no buffer zone. Uh, Likely doesn't like you having a social life without her. Doesn't like you having fun without her. Everything must be done together. And it kind of, you know, it suffocates you and where you're, even if you're against it, if you're against it and you have boundaries and say, hey, I need to I need to go play golf. I need to be with my friends tonight. We're having a guys' night, whatever it is. If you set those boundaries, fine, and you're always having to do it. But the worst thing is, I think in this situation is that you abide by it and you end up losing your friend group. You end up, always being together, and then you just grow sick of each other, right? What's your experience there with the needy girl?
I mean, this sounds like my marriage, basically. Like, she was very needy, very jealous. There's one time where my friend was getting deployed to Iraq, and we were all going out to celebrate, and she was upset because she couldn't go because she was under 21 at the time. So rather than me having a boundary of saying like, I'll see you later or whatever, I went to her house just to make sure she was okay. Like, so then I started hanging out with her more, losing my friend group. I was needy too. Like, I didn't want to lose her. So like our neediness together combined, and it just, but eventually things got to be like texting, where am I? Like, what are you doing now? Come see me. Like, everything had to be about each other, like what we were doing. I lost my friend group. She didn't really have friends at the time, so she never had anybody else, which made me also feel guilty for not hanging out with her. So our neediness together is what caused issues. And then, that eventually gets to a point where it ends. So once I broke my neediness, now I don't attract those kind of girls anymore. But I mean, that was a huge learning experience for me.
Yeah. And I think in general, men tend to be more needy than women do. Just in general, I mean, there's some
women have options. Like, she was 18, so she could have, like, if we broke up, she could go find somebody new. Whereas if we broke up, I would have had a harder time replacing her because she was really the first girl that I ever dated.
Yeah, I think their neediness comes from maybe different aspects of it. I'm not a psychologist, but like I think looking at like cognitive behavioral therapy, there's something there. I wouldn't necessarily say therapy is definitely not right for me. I get it through other ways. But there is something to be said about like conditioning and like, women that have like, say they grew up without a dad or they have father issues or whatever. And I think there's
issues.
I've done some research on it where there's like something to be said about growing up a certain way that and guys do this too. Like, I guess it all stems of like the experience we went through as a kid that progresses into your adult life and you become more needy. It's not like, maybe it is about options at a certain extent, but it's more about like abandonment and about like, not knowing who you are, like not having an identity outside this person, whether or not you want to explore other options. And I think everything, what we talked about has merit. But I think, I've always attracted women that were not as needy. And then, I would never classify myself as needy, but certainly there were, I'd always look for ways to try to figure out, okay, is this relationship safe? And I talked about flirtiness and like getting used to different personality types. And I guess when I was growing up or when I was in relationships early on, I just didn't have a lot of experience with like the short-term relationships. It was always either, maybe a couple short-term, but then a long-term relationship, which lasted for 10 years, my marriage. And so like after that, it was like trying to get used to the different personality types that were out there and then figuring out, okay, I definitely do not want to be the needy guy, and like actively trying not to like send the message of like, fine, like I think if you get home, say like we go out together, we live in different apartments, and she goes out, it's like, hey, good night or whatever, something like that is like, I think if you set the expectation of saying, hey, this just makes me feel better to know you've gotten home, especially after you've been out. It's not a needy thing to ask for a text or whatever, to know you're okay, whatever. Some people are completely against that. Like, hey, I'm not even going to text you. I don't want to. I shouldn't have to, all these things. But like, I've always liked to have more of a connection than not. And I wouldn't say that's needy. I think for a lot of men that are out there, adjust your own neediness first, and then make sure like you're only going to get a needy girl if you're needy yourself. And I think when you said that you were both needy, then you kind of attract that energy.
100% needy. Yeah, of course I attracted needy. I was needy.
So I think solve it in yourself. Don't get into a situation if you're getting a girl that's changing your life.
Neediness is one of the most unattractive things to a woman you can do. So like, The Rational Male is a great book to relieve some of that stuff if you never read that. But
Yeah.
yeah, neediness is it's going to turn off women.
Yeah. Yeah, I would second that for sure. Talking about the next one, the rude. So again, I think this is pretty self-explanatory, but nobody wants to be with a rude person, somebody that disrespects like wait staff or acts, arrogant towards people. Even though she might be sweet with you, but if you see her treating, like I said, waiters, cleaners, other people treating them like they're lesser than, or just as we've all seen it in public, right? But if you're with that person, it's a little bit more embarrassing, because it's like I don't know. I'm probably gonna butcher the saying, but like you can see your true colors for somebody that you can your true colors come out when you're treating somebody who can't help you, or when you're
Yeah.
talking to somebody who can't help you, whatever that the saying is. I think there's merit to that. And obviously for a woman that's being rude to somebody, then that's, not only embarrassing, but it's like, how do you reconcile that, like being with a person like that?
Yeah. I mean, how do you act towards other people that
Mm-hmm.
are in your life? Like you're going to act that way to somebody who's just trying to
Mm-hmm.
do their job or whatever. I also, I'm a peacemaker. If you know what Enneagram is. So I like to say, make both sides happy. So it makes me
Mm-hmm.
very uncomfortable if somebody's like confrontation with a waiter who's just trying to do their job, or
Mm-hmm.
somebody who's just like somebody who's on the phone and they're just trying to talk to a representative. Like they're just
Mm-hmm.
trying to do their stuff. You don't need to be a dick about it. I've had friends like that. And I just don't like being in situations with them because it just
Mm-hmm.
makes me uncomfortable. Like you're going to
Yeah.
be rude to somebody who's just trying to do their own job. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable. Like imagine talking about a personality trait. Like again, you can say I don't respect people who have those types of character flaws. I would say, but at the same time, if you're in a relationship with this kind of person, whether or not you mind it, it's like, do you really want to be around that energy all the time? Like, say you're traveling. You're going on vacation, your cabbie, your Uber shows up 1 minute late, they park on the other side of the road and she has to walk across the road. Like, would you rather be with somebody that is able to just play that down and say, okay, whatever, I'm not gonna let it ruin my day? Or would you rather have somebody yelling at the driver for the 30-minute drive to the airport? Like, what kind of energy do you want to be around?
Yeah.
You know,
I don't want to put that energy to confront that either. Like,
Mhm.
I don't want to have to tell you to shut up and just let the guy do his job. Like,
Yeah,
I'd
because
rather just go my own way. Like I don't want to put up with that at all.
it's only because it's only a matter of time. Like, it's embarrassing enough to watch that happen to somebody that you don't even know. But it's like, what about your friends? What about your business partners, your
Yeah, or
coworkers,
she
your
gets
people that
upset
are
with
around you?
you and then she brings up a bunch of shit that you did from who knows when.
Yeah, yeah. Eventually, it's going to come out on you, right? If she runs into people to be upset with, if that's her normal, eventually it's going to happen to you, and you're going to be dealing with a lot of disrespect and a lot of just BS, I would say, from that. So I think that's definitely this guy's onto something.
Hard
Um,
pass.
the next one is the jealous one. So everybody is jealous to a certain extent, right? Like, and to a good, I think, a certain level of jealousy. If you're acting a certain way and there weren't any jealousy, I think there's something wrong. But we're talking about possessive, over controlling, like massively insecure. Whatever you do, like if you're not doing anything wrong, and they're making you feel bad for whatever you're doing, if going out with friends or going to the gym. I know you talked about that one. Trying to better yourself because they need to bring you down as opposed to bringing themselves up or just being more secure over something. Um, I heard a funny anecdote a while ago on this, and I want to get your thoughts on it because I'm reading this guy's content, and uh, the person, like, people will let's say blame you, but they will be overly sensitive to certain things. Like, say in this context, if a ex is jealous of you, um, it's not really anything you're doing. It's more of like them potentially doing something that they shouldn't do behind your back. And it's like the maybe it's like the Carl Jung, um, shadow self, right? You're looking at something and you hate it in yourself. And it's like, it has nothing to do with the person that's doing it. It's like, if I look at a girl that's being flirty, maybe it's me that's like having feelings of like wanting to flirt with somebody or feeling bad about it. So I'm projecting it to them. So I guess like thoughts on that, and also thoughts on the jealous girl.
So my ex was very jealous. She would get upset, like I mentioned, if I would go running or if I would start working out, it was because I was going to go cheat on her. Or
Mm.
if we watched nudity in a movie, she'd get upset, like I was thinking the other girls were more attractive than her. Or some
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of jealousy comes down to just insecurity with yourself,
Mm-hmm.
like you're not good enough for something. The
Yeah.
whole, I guess you're projecting what you don't want, I guess, kind of thing.
Mm.
Like I think that, yeah, I think that is like, I don't know. I've heard in the YouTube comments, like if somebody's thinking about cheating, they're usually the ones cheating
Yeah,
or something
that's
like that.
exactly what I was
Yeah.
too.
And
Yeah.
I mean, I've told my story before of my wife at the time came home and told me she made out with her coworker.
Mm-hmm.
She was the one who was always jealous, worried about me cheating. And it ends up being that she was the one that did it.
Yeah.
And then you hear
So I
the
think there's
comments, she
something
did more
there's
than make out. It's like, all right, well, whatever. That's not the point.
Yeah,
But
there's something to that. I think it fills your head. If you're not even thinking about it, then you probably are like blissfully ignorant. I would say maybe that's a term to put it. It's like if you're just like, hey, I have no feelings of cheating on this person or with my partner. I think our relationship's great. Then you're probably saying the same thing. I'm like, why would she need to cheat with me, but cheat on me, or why would I need to be jealous about her doing things behind my back? But if you're saying like, if you're
I
like,
think a
hey,
little jealousy is good.
sorry,
I think a little jealousy is good. It keeps you on your toes, keeps you trying. You don't want that
yeah,
insecure, like
for sure.
controlling jealousy, but
Mhm. Well, especially if there's when women love playing this game, right? They love going out, especially if they're not feeling appreciated. They will, try to play a game to see what the guy says, and I think to a certain extent, it's good to play it off to say, you know what, like you can do whatever you want. I know this is a game. Like I'm secure in this relationship, and also secure that if you do want to leave or find somebody else, then fine. It's like not a big deal. That's a you problem and not a me problem. Um, but yeah, to a certain extent, I think there is, healthy amount of jealousy that should be there. I think, in this case, we're talking about insecure, possessive, like, the over the top character behaviors that we've all, seen or even possessed ourselves
yeah, that no one wants to
in
do.
some shape or form. And again,
Again,
and most of the guys that are probably listening to this, they've done it themselves too. We're not just talking about women. We're talking about if you have any of these traits in yourself, then it's time to say, hey, why would a girl want to date a guy who has these traits too? So we're not just picking on women out there. This
no,
is
you're
a
gonna
podcast.
attract this stuff. Yeah, like you attract
You
this
are
stuff.
going to attract it. Yeah.
I attracted this jealousy and the neediness stuff because I was needy and I
Mhm.
wasn't. I wasn't. I mean, I was just allowed this stuff. I couldn't stand up for myself. I wasn't masculine. Yeah.
Mhm. Even materialistic, like even going back through all of them, like it's you attract people that see you in a certain light, and sometimes it takes a third party. And I've asked people before in my life, like, how do I come off? And sometimes you have no idea how you come off. Sometimes you come off as potentially needy. This is not the feedback I got, because you don't really know unless you've been in a relationship with somebody. But sometimes I come off as I'm not unapproachable, like like, and which is opposite of how I see myself. And so a lot of people may go through this list, or like listen to this podcast now, and like as we get through the 13 types, you're thinking, oh, I'm not like this, I'm not this or that, I'm not materialistic. But if you have like, you like to dress up, you like brand names, you're going to attract women who are like, great, this guy likes the same brand names I do, maybe he'll buy me that shit. Like without thinking, without the subtleties, like if you're flirty with women, some women are going to be drawn to that. They want a guy that's like has options, and other girls, like there's weird women out there that just want that. They won't be attracted to you unless other girls are attracted to you and like they think you have options. And it's just, I don't know what's going on in their heads. I think that's kind of silly. But there are women that are like that, and so you attract sort of how you are. Maybe you attract the polar opposite, but I would say you attract, if you're needy, like you said, you're probably going to attract a needy partner.
I mean, if you're attracting needy, and I mean, then you're just kind of allowing that too. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise, that'd be a boundary. Like, I don't want a needy girl because I'm not needy, or I don't know.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
would be,
Look into yourself. Like if you've ever attracted these, you know, we'll call our listeners and say, if you've ever attracted these women before, look in yourself and like look at yourself honestly and say, do I possess any of these traits, you know,
yeah,
from a man's perspective? And I think it's excellent learning.
yeah.
This is a funny one. I have a lot more thoughts. I could probably do a full podcast on this, but I'm not going to get into it too much because it can get pretty political. But the over feminist. So again, this guy is like, he's saying, you know, there's nothing wrong with dating an independent, successful woman, right? The one like the independent woman, but they're not they're not independent at all. You know, the ones that call themselves independent are usually the ones that ask to pay for dinner and all this stuff. So the independent, successful woman. Now, what are your thoughts? Again, not the political side of it. You know, we've all sort of, you know, we've heard people say that like the only thing feminism really did for women is allowed them to sell their bodies on OnlyFans. Like that's like the oversimplification of a movement that was meant to help women, but ended up probably hurting them in the long run. Definitely hurting a lot of men. But what about the like not from a movement perspective, not a political perspective, but just in a woman? What are your thoughts on like the independent, strong women that, you know, whatever they want to do, what they just, again, I guess this goes to the one that competes with you,
Yeah,
but
kind of.
maybe emasculating for the guy, like is not willing to take the feminine role in a relationship because she's, oh, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. And fine, like if not saying you can't, but there's roles, I think in a relationship, there's roles that the man is better at filling, and there's roles that women are better at filling. I'm not saying kitchen stuff versus housework. Like I'm not saying any of that stuff, but like the roles that you fill, like say the masculine role, the feminine role, is what it is when it comes to relationships that work. And again, the feminist is probably going to attract guys that she's really not that interested in, you know, just by virtue of how she acts.
Yeah, I don't have. I guess I have some experience with that.
Mm-hmm.
One girl I was seeing, she was 21, and
Mm-hmm.
she was very opinionated. We didn't really talk about it while we were like together, but when she found out I like Andrew Tate, she's like, "Oh, that's it. It's over. I don't want to see you anymore." It's like, okay, well, fine, whatever. But I did have my roommate at the time. He went on a date with a girl, liberal, feminist kind of thing, talking about how she only likes to date men who are same mindset and stuff. And then my friend, who's like, "Oh yeah, how's that going for you?" And she's like, "Oh, they're all terrible." So like the women say that they want to be independent, they want all this, but then women are unhappier than ever. And then the guys that they are trying to see, who are also of that mindset of, yeah, let's women feminism, everybody's equal, la la la, then they're not even happy with those relationships that they get in.
Oh God. Like there's nothing worse in my mind than like a overly liberal simpy man. That's
I think those
feeding.
guys just play that shit off because I think that's the best way to get laid. Like they don't actually believe that shit.
Well, hopefully not, because it's cringy as hell. But I think it's just playing into a weird narrative that like men should be held down. Because I think that's like when you really get into the feminist argument, it's like they're not really fans of men. They're like, I don't need a man in my life. What's a man good for? Like I can make my own money. I drive my own car, get my own degree, you know, okay, fine. But like, should you be dating if you don't want a man around? Like, that's like kind of the argument that a
Well,
lot
I
of men
think
are
that's why
saying.
they're unhappy. Like they say that they don't need a man because they have all this stuff, because they really don't need a man. They don't need a provider. So then they're not happy with that role either.
Yeah. So like, what role does a man fill in your relationship then? And that's like, you'll never find it because it doesn't exist.
I think
You know,
they
the
said
guy
that most girls 35 or older are going to be like childless. Like 50% of women who are 30 some or older are just going to be without kids because they can't
yeah,
find.
well,
They're
they're
already
all,
supporting themselves, so they don't need a man. So it's harder for them to find somebody to settle with.
Mhm. And
Girls
they're
don't
all
want.
complaining on TikTok, oh, I can't find a good guy. And most good guys are like, hey, we are out here. But first of all, you're on TikTok complaining about how much you don't like men and don't need a guy. It's like, no man's going to want to be around that. First of all, it's just a horrible standpoint. And second of all, like there was I was watching a clip by Rich Cooper. You know Rich Cooper, right?
Yeah.
And it's a relatively new one, but he was looking at this and with my ex, I used to watch this show called Love Is Blind. It was like one of those mindless shows. I probably wouldn't watch it again. But it was on. I watched it with her a couple of years ago, and it's where like these guys, these men and women get together. And again, anything that there's a TV camera pointed at, obviously they're acting, whether or not it's a reality show or not. But they're at the altar, and he's commenting on this video, and he's like, regardless of, I forget the title of the video, but it was basically outlining like the guy can do whatever he wants to do, be as good as he wants, but she's always going to find a reason to not be with you. And so it was outlining on this show where they were basically at the altar, and they had a choice of whether to get married with the person or not. So they would say their piece. They would say, yes, I want to go through with the marriage. Who knows how long it would last? I know the show has like a 1% success rate, but anyways, so they get to the point where she's talking about him, and she goes off like, I like this about you, I like this about you, but I have to say no. And then so she gets back in her car with her mom, I think, and her sister, her friend, or whatever, and she's like, oh, well, I asked him what his stance was on Black Lives Matter. Like, this is like a white chick, right? Like a 30-year-old white chick. I don't know how old she was. She looked relatively old, like the same kind of the profile that you would say, like 35, maybe 40, maybe a little less. But like and they're two white people, right? Like they really don't have to have a stance on this. Like, sure, like be as woke as you want, but like you don't get to really have a stance on this, like as much as, say, somebody that's going through that as a Black person, for example. Like to have that as your stance on a partner is just the weirdest thing in the world. And he was commenting on, he's like, can you believe, it wasn't even on the BLM. It was like, I asked him on the stance on Black Lives Matter. I asked him on the stance on like other social things, or he was like, maybe about religion or something like that. And he was like, yeah, I don't really have one stance or another. Like he wasn't saying, oh, I don't like this movement, I think this is bad. He's like, I just don't have a stance on it at all. Like that's most men would be like, hey, great, fine, we agree that they matter, but like, do we need to be as woke as what everybody wants you to be? Like, great, have your stances, but then don't get too much into the woke side of it, because it's really, really weird. And we've all sort of seen that play out. But anyway, she was talking about this, and like most of the comments, like, oh my God, you dodged a huge bullet, because like these are the weirdest things to bring up when you're talking about a guy that's like, oh, you're great everywhere else, but then his stance on Black Lives Matter just wasn't good enough for me.
Yeah, those girls are going to be lonely.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. It seemed like the feminist, prototype of like everything is like you can be the best thing in the world, but you're always going to find something wrong because you're just not interested in men. You're going to find the silliest things. Okay, the next one is, and actually I just noticed this article is written by a woman, so take that for what you will. Which is good. I mean, there should be more women out there that call themselves out for all this stuff.
I mean, all this stuff seems kind of obvious.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably write the same about a guy too.
I'm
for
glad
women that say,
glad she's self-aware.
For women that say, oh, you should want a feminist, you should.
I mean, this would apply to men too. Like a girl shouldn't want to be with a guy that's possessively jealous or needy or
woke, yeah,
or feminine, yeah, like liberal.
Yeah, exactly. We're all the liberal guys. Oh, I'm not going to get into that joke, but all right. So the next one is the one who doesn't take care of herself. I mean, this is pretty obvious, but let's see what she says. The efforts. Okay, so this is a bit more nuanced, and I think we've all sort of been there as well. So it doesn't mean like hygiene. I mean, of course, it could mean hygiene. It could mean like, not going to the gym, eating, crappy foods, all that stuff. Okay, but this is a little bit nuanced. So her efforts are only for the first dates. you know, the same kind of girl who's like, oh, I dress up on the first date, you should be taking me to dinner, right? Because I do my part.
If
I'm
a
an
girl does
adult.
not dress up for a first date, that's an immediate turn off.
Well, it's like they want to be congratulated for being an adult, right? I dress up. Okay, good for you. You know, we
I
all
want a girl
dress.
who dresses up because she loves to dress up. Just
Yeah.
likes to be out of the house looking pretty. It's disappointing. I was doing my 90 days approaches in Minneapolis, and I'd go to Whole Foods, and girls are in pajamas and sweatpants, and then I got to pretend to say, "Hey, I thought you looked nice." Which is total fucking
in your
bullshit.
in your
Yeah,
sweatpants. Good
yeah.
work.
You look nice with your hair all messy, and you're in your sweatpants while you get your ice cream.
I thought you looked okay in your baggy
You look
sweatpants.
cute, but you put no effort in to leave the house. And maybe,
Wearing wearing your ex's sweatpants.
yeah.
Yeah, so you basically just described it. So again, people that, you know, maybe they try hard at the very first, like even this could be for the first 6 months, even 3 months, 6 months. But then when they're at home, you know, they couldn't care less. When it's just for you, they couldn't care less. You know, they go out, they do the Instagram snaps, but then just for you, they're in the sweats. There's no makeup. You know, maybe they're not going to the gym. You know, so they don't really put in the effort to forget about hygiene. They don't really put in the effort to dress up or like be sexy to you. Um, you know, if it's only for you, right? So, and the worst one for me in this side of things is like, you know, terrible diet. Again, I'm not the cleanest eater in the world. I do have certain foods, like I will not eat fast food, try to stay away from carbs as much as I can. I do go to the gym every day. So like I would be probably above average in terms of like trying to maintain a healthy appearance. So when people don't do that, when I see somebody that's like, you know, murdering a bag of chips or hot dogs or like goes to McDonald's, I'm like, I just can't get on board with this, especially if it's like, you know, you can see that there's a few extra pounds there. I'm like, I'm not asking for like a stick figure, but it just points to just being lazy. And a lot of women will say that to a guy. So if a guy is like not putting an effort to eat well and to take care of himself gym wise, it points to other traits, not just attractiveness, but traits of like being lazy, not being motivated, things like that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you can lead by example with the diet. If you're eating healthy and she's not, I don't see it. That's probably going to work long term. My thing is, yeah, like my ex did not ever wear makeup, never really dressed up, kind of just dressed pretty casual. And at the time I thought, okay, that's just the way it is. It's not a big deal. But as I've been dating other girls, I really appreciate that they like to get dressed up for themselves. Like they don't dress up to get attention necessarily. They just want to look good. They like to be girls. They like to wear makeup. They like to dress cute. They like to be stylish. So now that I've experienced that, I don't want girls that don't have that mindset.
Yeah.
I've been in there in the past where not necessarily she wasn't dressing like terrible, but she also never wore makeup, didn't take pride in her appearance. We would eat garbage together, so I'm not going to say anything about that. Like she ate a lot healthier than I did, but at the same time, like now I'm eating a lot healthier than I do. And if a girl eats garbage once in a while, as long as she's working out and like stays attractive, I'm fine with that. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, it's fine. Like, you don't have to be a health freak because I think that can get boring too. And certainly, I don't do that. But like, I guess it's just like the overarching habit of just like, you know, if you're at home, make an effort to eat clean. Maybe like it's cool. Like, I've been in relationships where we've like cooked healthy food together, and you kind of make it a, you know, let's both eat healthy food. We want to both be healthy. But if somebody is just constantly ordering in, you know, pizzas, whatever, just like that I don't know. It's just like a laziness of just not wanting to.
I mean, girls can age quickly too if they don't take care of themselves.
Well, that too, yeah. Once you once you hit like a certain age, we've all seen people that we grew up with that are just like. And again, I don't want to comment on it because sometimes it's like they have kids and all this stuff, and people age differently, and it's all good. But like, um, but that's the biggest marker. If you're at least eating healthy and you're trying, then you know it's admirable. But if you're just not even doing that, then I don't know. It doesn't make you a bad person. It just makes you not a good fit for somebody who is doing that because it's not fun to not, you know, be able to eat what you want to eat. Like I was at a coffee shop earlier today. I was like, well, I'm actually doing a list of non-negotiables, which I think is extremely helpful. And I think we need to get into that a little bit more. It's just such a powerful thing for your mind, not to get off on a tangent, but to like
non-negotiables over the last 45 days has changed everything for me.
Yeah. Like just to say, here's the pact that I'm making for myself, whether it's making your bed in the morning, whether it's saying, I'm not going to have any wine today. I mean, I'm down in Chile.
Yeah. Maybe we go over that next week.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that next week. But I did go to a coffee shop and I said, you know what? It's on my list of non-negotiables that I'm not going to have any carbs. Actually, I ate pasta. I'm not going to have any sweets today. So I had to go to a coffee shop and not have like a muffin or, you know, a cookie or whatever, which I usually would. So I'm making those conscious decisions, go to the gym, even though I didn't want to today. So when people don't do that, I'm like, I just can't get on board with it.
Yeah.
Sue me.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that I think is taught through just lead by example. And if they're not on board, then there's going to be friction for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I mean, relationships change. That's why it's like, it was hard for me to become the guy I am now because I was in that box. I was married. I can't like alienate my wife at the time. So I was hesitant to change. And now I'm to the point where I'm constantly evolving. I've got my non-negotiables now. And if I have a girl who's not going to lead by example, like if she's not going to follow with me, then she's got to go. Like I set my non-negotiables. This is how it's going to be. You can follow with me. I would love to have you. But if not, then I'm going to have to find somebody who's got the same vision I do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And that segues quite well into our next one, which is the negative one. So
many of these were me and my wife. Like it's interesting how you can get many of them at one, like all in one person.
Oh, big time. Well, I think a lot of these breed, like it's like if you have one, you naturally have to have the other.
I think a lot of it comes down to insecurities and neediness.
Yeah.
Which neediness might be based on insecurity. So,
and if you're needy, you're probably negative as well because you are living more on the insecure side.
You're also resentful of other people because they have things that you don't. So then it makes you negative.
Yeah, so I think it's just like there's something there. There's something that we could probably get into the psychology side of it, where it's like if you have one of these, you naturally have maybe 4 or 5. Negativity for me though is like I've been there. I've been in my mind. I wasn't overly negative, but I was always sort of like bringing up certain things that other people were like, "Hey, we know it's like this, you know," but we're choosing not to like think about it all the time. You know, it just like driving in traffic would put me in a bad mood, or like there's certain things that put me in a bad mood, and I just didn't even think about how it would be affecting people around me. And now that I've become more aware of it, like I think I've mentioned it before, it's just like it's something that you can't even stand being around. If people are negative, if they're playing a victim role, you know, it's like, but this could be like nagging you. It could be, you know, trashing you, saying, "Hey, this is a bad outfit," or like just always looking at bad things that are happening, or somebody that's always in chaos. Even, you know, like there's always like, "Hey, I always need to ask you about certain bad things that are happening in my life," or using you as like an emotional support, even though, you know, great, be there for that person, but like you're dumping on them all the time, like trauma dumping. I guess that could be considered negative as well, or just like being that, having that bad energy, you know, like what's on that?
I think there's lots of different types of negativity. Like I was the kind of negativity that people had things that I didn't, so I was resentful. I have an aunt who everything's hopeless. She can't progress. Her life just sucks, like that negativity. Then I have a friend who he'll go do approaches and then the girl reject him. Like, oh, she's a bitch. She sucks. Like every time I see him, like the first thing he says to me is something negative. Like, oh, I worked so hard all week, or I'm so tired. So I think there's a lot of different aspects of negativity, and it all is going to affect you. Like I have my parents will tell me like, she's always so tired. It's like, well, if you rephrase that as another way, is I'm slightly worn down today. Like it just changes the whole meaning. Now it's not so negative. Now it's I'm slightly worn down. So I think negative, because I was like that too. I get upset in traffic. I would get furious at Call of Duty if I fucking got killed. Like just, I was 30 something at the time, like just completely ridiculous. But I would get furious at that game, and it's like, oh wow, that's totally unattractive. Like, and now I'm aware of how negative things can creep in, and like just I don't want to be that guy. Like, I think a lot of it is Tony Robbins says something like 60% of people are glad it's your problem. The other 40% don't care. So like if you're talking about problems, no one gives a shit. I don't care about other people's problems. If I can help you, I'll try. If you're not willing to do anything, I can care less then. Like, I'll give you, help you out, but not if you're not going to do anything.
Yeah. And I think it's so hard these days, I think, to not let something, things affect you. Like if you watch the news, and I do not watch the news, I will keep up with, I find myself going on Associated Press. I have the Associated Press app, which actually I've been meaning to turn off notifications because they send me like 100 notifications a day about what Trump's doing. I'm like, I just don't care anymore.
Yeah, you don't even know it's real anymore.
Yeah, it's like, well, you don't know what to, first of all, you don't know what to believe, and it's always negative. They always point out the more negative aspects because that's what gets people on their emotional side, right? That's what gets people to click. So naturally, they're trying to put you in a negative mindset because they want to elicit this emotional response from you, right? It's engineered to do this to you. So if people are constantly around these negative things, or like they believe like all the politicians doing this, like I find myself thinking about it. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, am I going to be the realist, or am I going to be? And that was my cop out. My excuse is like, I'm not going to be the naive person that's just going to say, oh, it's fine. These politicians or business people are, doing the best they can to move society forward. And I think we all know that's complete BS, but it's one thing to have it dwell, or for you to dwell on it, or have it affect your life, or wake up.
Also, what can you do about it? How does that affect your day-to-day life? Is it going to help you in any way? Like, does knowing that make your day any different? No, I still have to go to the gym. I still have to meditate. I still have to eat healthy. I still have to do all my shit for work. Like, oh, well, it really does not, there's really nothing I can do with this information anyways.
Yeah, you can just live the way you can live. And again, like you can be real about it. Like you don't have to be naive or anything. It's just like, does it affect how you live your life? And it really shouldn't. And if it does, especially if you're saying, oh, I'm blaming everything, I'm not doing anything about it. So do something about it then. Like if you don't like how expensive things are, well, great. Like
make more money.
What can you do about it?
That's the solution. Make more money.
Yeah. So I think it's just a different mindset. And I think I just can't get behind people that if you're negative, and you said it just now, it's like, if you're not willing to change, you're not willing to do anything to change your circumstances, to change your negativity. Yeah. If you're negative about like, oh shit, it's raining, I want to go golfing today, fine, like be upset for 5 minutes, and then move on. But if you're saying, oh, it always rains and I want to go golfing, I can never spend time to myself. I have
that always happens every time I want to go golfing.
Yeah, exactly. So like, everything, we all live in the same world. It just who chooses to see, a silver lining, or who chooses to just power through it.
I think one thing that really helped me with this was personal accountability. Everything that happens is your fault. So like if it's raining and it's golfing, sure, that sucks, that's happening, but it's up to me how I react to it. I can mope about it, I can bitch about it, or I can go find something else to do. Yeah, another thing is, like the 4 agreements, don't take anything personally. Like that helps too. Like, oh, this guy cut me off in traffic. Well, maybe he's in an emergency. Maybe his wife's in labor. Maybe like who knows what the fuck's going on. You can't take it personally. Why get negative about it? You have no control over what happened.
Yeah, that actually reminds me of a story. So I had somebody that I was talking to, and she was talking, I think I may have brought this up before, where she was talking about men, and like, oh, she runs into the wrong men all the time, and why are men like this? And and I'm like sitting there, I'm kind of thinking to myself, like, okay, so, and actually I pushed back on the first thing, and she got pissed at me because I was like, okay, so you expect these guys to be a certain way, and like, why aren't you looking at yourself and saying, why am I putting myself around people who are like that? And like, I'm thinking to myself, that's the first thing I'm thinking about, is like, okay, so certain types of people are going to act certain ways, and you're still going around those people and you're expecting them to be different. It's like, doesn't the onus fall on you to sort of like, choose the people you're around differently. And if I go to a cage with gorillas, like, am I going to be pissed at the gorilla for attacking me, or am I going to say I'm just not going to go into a gorilla cage because I know exactly what they're going to do?
Yeah, I don't want to risk that shit.
Yeah, there's two ways of thinking about it. Like, you can either be pissed about it and say, and I think Marcus Aurelius says that one of his meditations is like, I wake up every morning and I know I expect people to be assholes towards me. I expect to run into people who are bitter, who are not fun to be around. And if I expect it, I'm okay with it because I know it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's a funny story, because I'm like, it's just a weird victim mindset of just everybody's out to get you. If it was me, I'm like, fine.
Most people don't care about you at all.
Yeah, but it's like, it's my fault if I'm putting myself around people like that. It's my fault if I'm constantly running into women who are sugar daddy or sugar babies, right? They're looking for sugar daddy. It means I'm doing something wrong. It means I'm attracting women because I'm like, maybe I'm putting money out there. I'm like putting a lifestyle out there that I'm not meaning to, and they're attracted to it without me knowing about it. It's like, is it their fault or is it my fault? I'd rather say it's my fault, and because I can change that. I can say, great, I'll change whatever I'm doing, instead of being negative about it and blaming them for being who they are. It's when you understand that, and if you're listening as a guy or a girl, if you understand that finer point, like you said, is like, the 4 agreements, no assumptions, like the extreme ownership is such a valuable way to live your life.
Best book I ever read. Well, one of them, 4 agreements. Love it.
Yeah. So I haven't read that one, but I do want to read it at some point.
So yeah, it's good read, short. Love it. Let's get to the next one. How many got left?
We have 3 left.
All right, cool.
Drama queen. So we can fly. We're at the hour mark, I think, a little bit over an hour. We can fly through these. The drama queen. So girls who like to make drama out of everything. They're obnoxious. They can be annoying. Every aspect of her life is a problem. Nothing's good enough. These types of people. What are your experiences there, Johnny?
I guess I don't know necessarily the definition of drama. My ex had, I don't know if does that include like a victim mindset, like everybody's against me, or is that more negative?
Probably not the victim. I think that was more on the negative side. I think this was more of like, they over embellish everything, like everything's an issue.
I don't know. I guess more so everybody, she was entitled to things, I guess. So like everything's blown out of proportion. Like, oh, I can't believe your mom said this. And it's like, oh, is it really that big of a deal? I guess I can't cite specific examples. It all kind of just blends together at this point. But how about you?
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, I've always tended to sort of, push these women to the side. I just can't do it. It's just too much. You do get a bit of drama just in every relationship you're going to be in.
You have to spike some drama too to keep the relationship from being stale.
And like there could be like the jealousy, the drama over the jealousy. There could be drama under, over, whatever in the relationship. Obviously, if they're passionate. But this is like, I would equate this to like somebody who's very into social media, and they're very comparative of like, oh, this person did this. They're very gossipy. They're very into other people's lives. And I think what you said is like, they'll blow the smallest thing up. And so if you're the type of person like I am, that just, there's things that I will stand up for. There's things that I just don't care about. And if, I found myself in certain situations where a girl that I was seeing cared about certain things that I just didn't care about at all. Like it didn't register on my radar at all. And we found ourselves sort of like, she was testing me on like how I would react in certain ways. And I'm like, I just don't care. You're bringing things up that aren't even registering.
I don't care about this relationship to be part of this.
Yeah. So like there is that. I think as a guy, you certainly, you do see this.
You think that comes just with like, you have an abundance though, like knowing like, there's other girls out there. I don't need to put up with this shit.
Well, that, like everything else, I think if drama is the one that you just like, hey, I want a peaceful life. You're bringing up way too much stuff. You're being annoying. I think that can come up very quickly.
I can see that. Yeah.
The next one is, I would say the more controversial one, not controversial. I just don't know where it fits, and I want your opinion on it. But she said, and this is coming from a girl, keep that in mind. So she says, I can't have sex anytime. So what she's saying here, and this is the second last one, she says, like girls who can't have sex in the morning, for example, can't have sex out of the blue, can't do quickies. She has to be mentally prepared, has to have the candles lit. You know, she has a headache. She has to take a shower before her hair's this or that. Well, what are your thoughts on that? Because obviously people are just not going to be able to just jump in bed whenever, but at the same time, like it can be kind of annoying the other way around.
I've dated, well, I guess I haven't dated girls like, I've been on dates with girls like this, and then I don't see them again. Like, I like a girl that is spontaneous, adventurous with sex, likes public sex, likes to be adventurous with that. I think I don't know if it was on the podcast or I just talked to you, but that I was on a date with a girl and she's putting forth these rules. Like, I don't sleep with guys until the third date, and like all these rules on attraction. And I was just immediately like, well, I'm not interested anymore then. Like, that's fine. Yeah. I want a girl that's immediately into me, wants to have sex, wants to do adventurous sex, like crazy stuff. Like, we don't have to have sex whenever, if you're not in the mood, but like, you still have to be open to morning sex or sex in a car or wherever we just decide to have sex. Like, I want that kind of relationship. So maybe it's not, maybe other guys are fine with that, but I'm not into that at this point.
Yeah, I agree that the spontaneity part of it is, I'd hate the rules part of it. A lot of people don't understand. Like, if you're at a first date and you're saying, I don't usually sleep with people on the first date, it doesn't mean the guy is wanting that all the time, but like it just puts a damper on things when you have to negotiate. Like, oh, this is completely off the table. Like, if the guy doesn't know if it's because there's no attraction, like it just puts you in a weird mindset. Like, if you're making these rules.
Yeah. When I hear that too, it means you've slept with plenty of guys on the first date, and now you're trying to change your behavior. Like, it's like, now you're grouping me in with these loser guys that you didn't like. Like, well, fuck them. Like, I'm not one of them guys. If you see me that way, then I don't really want to see you. Like, I know I'm not one of those guys. If we're going to have sex on the first date, it's because there's connection, there's chemistry, there's attraction. And if we see each other again, that's fine. If not, then we don't. But don't group me in with these losers that you fucked and feel guilty about or regret or whatever. Like, don't put these rules on me. That just means to me you've already done this in the past.
Yeah, I would share that opinion. I think it's just and it's in bad taste. If you don't do that, it doesn't mean you're having one night stand. It just doesn't need to come up.
Yeah, you don't even have to say you don't have sex. Just say, I don't want to rush this. I really like you or something. Like, okay. Like, that sounds better than I don't have sex on the first date. That immediately means I've had plenty of sex on the first date. Now now I'm in my 30s and I don't want to just fuck every guy that moves. And now
you're tired of having fun. You want
a provider now.
Yeah. And I think in a relationship too, not even just on the first date, in a relationship, if you are with somebody who is just very much of it is not spontaneous, like the writer says, like, oh, I need to have a shower first, I need to do this first, do that first, I don't want to do this. I think after a while that just gets a bit old for men. Like, okay, we're not always going to be in the mood at the same time, you
just want that passionate, like, I want to be wanted. I don't want to have I really want you after I shower and cook dinner. It's like, well, that's not passionate.
And that's like the chore play, right? Like, I will only do this if you're doing the dishes, or if you please me, you take me out for dinner, you get this as a result. It becomes very quickly in situations where it's a transactional thing, right? All right, the last one, last but certainly not least, I think this one's an obvious one too, not getting over her ex. So again, like, this would be a huge problem, obviously, if you're in a relationship that's like a year old and you're still dealing with this. I think, that's why a lot of men maybe shy away from dating single moms, because there's always another guy that's already in that relationship, and it's almost like a triangle. You don't know if there's like alpha widowed sort of situation going on. But just in general, like, say if you're, and I've actually have been in this situation before where you're on a first date or second date and she brings up her ex, whether it's like her getting over him or not, but like, I've had a girl bring up her ex as far as like, oh, well, we used to do this together, we used to do that together, he used to say this, and And I'm like, okay, that's like, it's cool a couple of times, but after a while, it's like, okay, why are we still talking about this? It's just kind of weird that it just keeps coming up, and it makes it seem like you're just not yet over the ex, and it makes it seem like we're very similar. Like it wasn't the ex's problem that they broke up; it was more her,
Yeah.
because you're seeing all these things pop up, and you're like, okay, this ex doesn't seem like that bad of a person. Like I think you're the one that's, maybe he had something going on. Like he had a reason to leave. What are your thoughts on ever experience something like that?
Yeah. So I had an ex. She had an ex.
Mm-hmm.
So she had seen somebody that she was in love with, and then they broke up or something happened. And then she was kind of dating this other guy. She wasn't really ready for it. He kept pushing for it. Like, oh, let's see what happens. She's like, no, I'm in love with this guy. Still didn't really want to see him. Kept like, I mean, this guy was okay with it. Like he was desperate to keep her around. So that situation, like that, I can see like why that relationship didn't work, because she's clearly not over her other ex. Now she's getting with you. She's hesitant about it. So that obviously I could see why that wouldn't work. I did have an ex who would also bring up things that she did with her exes. Like it ended up being like, oh, I did this with an ex, and I did this. It's like, all right, I don't want to hear about an ex, let alone multiple exes. Like it's not a big deal. Obviously girls have sex. Like that's not the problem. It's just I don't want to hear all about your history and like the things that you did. One thing that Andrew Tate said that I really resonated with was like, as a man, you want a girl that doesn't have any experiences so that you can show her those experiences. So if you're with a girl who's already like these girls who I've traveled all over the world, I've done all this stuff. Oh, I've already done this thing. It's like, oh, well, what the hell am I going to show you then? Whereas if you have a girl who's never done any of that stuff, you're like, oh, we're going to go to this place. Oh, I'm so excited. I've never been there. That's awesome. Like that's the kind of girl that you would want. Is like, oh yeah, she doesn't have tons of experience with all this stuff. So if she's bringing up her exes and all that, it's like, oh, well, what am I going to do then?
Well, it's pretty common. Like the woman cares about the guy's future, and the guy cares about a woman's past. It's a pretty common saying.
Yeah.
And I think there's studies that the more experience a girl has, the less chance she's going to be able to pair bond with a guy long term. Whereas it's not the same as guys. There's scientific studies that have actually proven this. Long-term studies, like over the course of like say 20, 30 years. It was recently published, I think. And a lot of girls, that's where they become unhappy, because they're like the trauma that they can get over years of like being hung up on men. And I will always maintain, and this goes back through the list as well, as like if there's a chick that's like not actively having sex with you or making rules about it, if she's acting aloof, or like there's another saying, it's like there's no single women out there. Like if a girl is single, she's obviously has a roster of guys. There's rarely any women that are just completely single. That's so rare these days. So like there's always somebody that she wants, and if you're the one that comes in and just like showers her with gifts, making her life easier, you're not the guy that she truly wants. She may be with you because you make her life easier, but there's always another guy that's out there, whether it's an ex, whether it's somebody that she just can't get with. So like as a guy, if there's other men in the picture, like exes, we all know the term alpha widowed, right? Like a guy that came into our life. Like I told the story about the Titanic, earlier in the podcast, one of our first episodes, right? Like this girl, was tied up with this guy for 70 years, right? Even though she had a family, like, that's a real thing. So yeah, for me, it's like if she's not completely into you, get the hell out.
Yeah, exactly.
Any closing words, Johnny? Are you going to go to the gym later on?
I went to the gym. I'm going to film a video about my Hinge experience in New York City. I got 8 numbers in less than 48 hours and a bunch of matches. So I wasn't going to make a video about it. I was just doing a case study for my client just to get some more texting documents, breakdowns for him, just kind of show him what's possible. And it's like, oh, well, I might as well film it in case anybody in their 40s is struggling with online dating. You can at least see like what is possible. Like maybe New York's not the ultimate place, but if I can do it in New York, I can do it in other places. New York's got more competition than anywhere. So
yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I'm gonna film that for that. My closing remarks for this is this applies to both men and women. It feels like I identified as a lot of those things in the past. Once I started to take personal accountability. I stopped being so negative. I stopped being so needy. I stopped worrying about pleasing others. So now I'm living as a guy with purpose and drive and just taking responsibility for myself. If a girl is doing things that I don't like the sex thing or the jealousy stuff, I'm at a place now where I know I can meet new women. I do that consistently, so I'm not tied up on just one girl. Whereas in the past, if I had gotten out of my divorce and didn't make any improvements on myself, I would have absolutely probably just settled with one of these girls, because what choice would I have? It's better than sex with a girl who's jealous is better than no sex at all. So I would have taken that. So I would say that identify these behaviors in yourself. If you notice them, there's ways that you can improve on it. You're not a victim. You are in control of the actions that you take. If you're needy, or if you're jealous, or if you're a sugar daddy for somebody and you don't want to be, like, look at your behaviors. What can you do to improve it? You're going to attract what you're putting out there. So I would say this isn't so much about what the girl is doing. It's more, what are you doing, or what are you putting up with, and what are you putting out there? If you don't want these things in your life, then you have to have boundaries, and you have to be a kind of man that doesn't attract that shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I would resonate with a lot of that too. I think we've all been there, where we've all shared certain aspects of these things in one degree or another. And I think, like, if you notice it in your relationship, I think, it's not too late to turn it around. I think if you're needy or you're dramatic or whatever it ends up being, I think you can recognize it. I think reading and listening to content is what helped me a lot.
I will say, if you're in a relationship where it is like this, you're going to face pushback, because neither person's going to want to get out. You're already in kind of a box. So you will face pushback. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. Just be aware that you're going to have to push your comfort zone a little bit and push back. And you're going to find out if the relationship will work or not very quickly. And it'll save you a lot more time. If you're trying to let go of neediness and you're standing up for yourself and they can't handle it, then that's a good reason to get out now, instead of waiting and wasting 3 more years or how long it takes.
Yeah, it's never too late to improve. I think, we started this podcast with that in mind. We're talking about people that are 30 plus, 40 plus. I think you're still a young person.
Yeah, I didn't figure this shit out until I was 35.
Yeah. And so if you're in a relationship and you notice any of these things, like, I've never seen a long-term relationship get better with having these things in place. Sometimes they work their way out. Sometimes people get better.
Most people cope with it and they just stay together, but they're not happy with it.
And that's a sad thing, because that's where a lot of marriages are, and eventually they peter out and you get divorced.
Yeah. I think they say, like 50% of marriages end in divorce. Of the 50 that don't, like 30% aren't even happily married. They're just together for kids or for convenience or
for money, right? It's
money.
I just want to get divorced because of money, and the girl wants to stay together.
I haven't met many people with a relationship I envy. I'll say that.
No. Yeah, it's few and far between, but I think those 13 personality traits, if you have the ability, and that's, like, again, be the better man, be as good of a man as you possibly can, because you can be choosy. As good as you can get as a guy to raise your value, you can be choosy, and you can say, hey, I will not put up with these 13 behaviors. People that have to is because, typically, like Johnny said, is like, you don't have an option, you don't have any reason, or you don't have really much in the way of pushback, because you're not bringing much to the table either, or you have some of these in yourself. So the better you position yourself on the sexual marketplace, the more you're going to be able to push back on these behaviors. So I wish you guys the best of luck. And again, let's if you're listening to this, we want to hear your comments on it. Like, which one sticks out the most for you? Is there one that we left off, or the author left off? I love doing these commentary ones. I love, like, having some content. We can riff for hours, but if we have some content, we have some stuff that's out there. If you guys have any topic ideas, then let us know and we'll address them. But for now, this has been the Playbook Podcast, episode 8, and we hope you enjoyed yourself.
Peace.
See you next week.